Board President, you do have quorum if you would like to start. Good evening, everyone.
Hi, Akeisha.
Hi, Ms. Candy.
Akeisha, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Hi, Howard.
Hi. Okay, I can mute myself. I just wanted to make sure it's working.
It
All right.
It is working.
Great.
Okay. Hi, everybody. All right, so we will get started. Akeisha, if you want to get your flag up, if everyone will rise, we'll start with the flag salute. Mr. Rubino, if you'll lead us in the flag salute. I don't know if he's muted. All right, I'll go. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United
United States of America,
and
and
to
to the republic
which
which
it
stands,
one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of the Act, the Fort Lee Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published on April 17, 2020, and posted on the district website at www.flboe.com, published in the board's designated online media outlet newspaper, The Record, filed with the clerk of the Borough of Fort Lee, and mailed to all persons, if any, who have requested said notice. Please be advised that this meeting is being taped and may be broadcasted on local TV and the district's website at a future date. By law, the state of New Jersey has vested tremendous discretion in the board to do whatever is necessary to conduct its business. NJSAA 18A11-1 allows boards to make, amend, and repeal rules not inconsistent with this title or with the rules of the state board for its own government and the transaction of its business and for the government and management of the public schools and public school property of the district. The Open Public Meeting Act allows for remote participation at board meetings and defines meeting as any gathering, whether corporal or by means of communication equipment, which is attended by or open to all of the members of a public body, held with the intent on the part of the members of the body present to discuss or act as a unit upon the specific public business of that body. Roll call, please.
Board members, if you can please unmute your microphones at this time. Ms. Cho.
Here.
Ms. Colbath.
Here.
Mr. DeMeglio.
Here.
Ms. Morrell. Ms. Morrell. Ms. Richter.
Here.
Ms. Ramba.
Here.
Rubino.
Here.
Ms. Tuck.
Here.
Ms. Silver.
Here,
You have quorum.
the board convened executive session at 6:45 today to discuss legal, personnel, and other confidential matters. Mr. Rhoda, will you begin by sharing the superintendent's report?
Thank you, Ms. Silver. Welcome to everyone tonight. Looks like we got a nice crew out there watching us online. I'll start with our HIB report, and the board has not had any HIB investigations since the last meeting. Secondly, we have a report on some of our test scores. These are our science scores that the test scores came in later, and we are required by statute to report out to the public on these scores. So I'm going to ask Dr. Amato and to take over with the help from Mrs. Karuba, who's our Director of Guidance. So Dr. Amato?
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Rhoda. Over the last several years, there's been a transition in science education across the state, across the country and across the state. We implemented the next generation science standards, which combine science, technology, engineering, and math. In 2019-20, we transitioned to the New Jersey Student Learning Standards in science. The presentation that you will see shortly will show the results of those standards, how well our students met those standards. We transitioned our curriculum over the last several years and implemented all of these new strategies to combine the STEM approach in our curriculum. The results of the presentation that you will see provides us some very useful and informative information. It tells us that it's done very well in some areas, but we also have some work to do. We are going to continue looking at our curriculum and finding ways in which we can support all of our learners. So with us tonight, we have our Director of School Counseling Services, Mrs. Lauren Karuba, who will go through the PowerPoint slide presentation. And we also have on hand our Supervisor of Science and Math to answer any questions that you might have. So at this time, I'd like to invite Lauren Karuba, and we will pull up some PowerPoint slides that show our results.
Good evening, everyone. I am going to share my screen with everyone so you're able to access the document. And hold on one second. Present. Oh, slide one. Sorry about that. Okay. So as Dr. Amato said, this evening I am going to be presenting our 2019 NJSLA Science Assessment data with the group. This test was given and scored for the first time in the spring of 2019. Unlike the rest of our NJSLA tests, this test is only given to students in grades 5, 8, and 11. It is not given every year in grades 3 through 10 like our other tests. If you look here where I'm pointing at the mouse, these are the proficiency levels that the state gives out. So all of the test takers fall between level 1, level 2 and 3, and level 4. And right below it, you'll see for grade 5 what those score ranges are, for grade 8 what the score ranges are, and for grade 11 what the score ranges are. They're almost the same for each grade level, but they do vary slightly. Fort Lee High School and Fort Lee School District continues to be a high level and a high performing district. If we jump back onto the left side of the screen, you'll see that the Fort Lee average in grade 5 was 191. This puts us between level 2, 3, near and met expectations. The state average was 170. In grade 8, Fort Lee average was 174, which again puts us in the near and met expectations. And we did better again than the state average, which is 165. In grade 11, our average is 179, again putting us in the near and met expectations category. And again, we scored better than the state average of 163. This chart represents the percentage of students who fell into each scoring group. So I'd like to specifically talk about the last two columns. In red, you'll see the percentages for Fort Lee School District, and in white, you'll see the percentages of the state average. So the last two columns represent the percentage of students who performed to near and met expectations through above expectations. So in grade 5, 89% of Fort Lee students fell within that range, where the state only had a 65% average. In grade 8, we have a 70% average of our students falling within that range, and the state average was a 64. And in grade 11, there is a 62% of Fort Lee students fall within that range, and the state average is 51. Our next three slides, I'm going to pull out our subgroups, the subgroups of our population, and talk a little bit about their proficiency levels. So our first slide here is all of our students that have an IEP. So in grade 5, we had about 35% of them which fell within the near and met expectation level through above expectations. In grade 8, we were right at about 30%. And in grade 11, we came in at about 27% of our students with IEPs falling in that range. This chart represents the percentage of our economically disadvantaged student population. So in grade 5, we had about 63% fall between in that proficiency range. In grade 8, we were a little bit lower at 57%. And grade 11, we came in at about 54%. This slide is our slide representing all of the different ethnic backgrounds in our buildings and where their proficiency levels range. So if you look at the top here, we have, it's all different shades of blue. So the darkest blue represents grade 5, our medium blue represents grade 8, and the lightest blue represents grade 11. So the first subgroup that I'm going to report on is our Hispanic population. And they fell at about 30% in grade 11, about 50% in, and this is again speaking about the proficiency level, in grade 8, and we were close to 65% in grade 5. Our Asian subgroup is our largest subgroup. They make up the largest number of our students, and they are also our highest achieving subgroup. And for grade 5, they came in at a little bit over 82%, the same for grade 8. And for grade 11, we came in at about 73%. Our African American students, you're only going to see grades 5 and 8 represented here. In grade 11, we have less than 10 students that fall into this range. So the state asks that we don't report on such a small group. So in grade 5, we were about 50% proficient. And in grade 8, we were about 31% proficient. If we move to our very last column, that is our white subgroup, we were about 62% in grade 5, 64% in grade 8, and 63% in grade 11. And that concludes our presentation of specific test data in regards to science. Thank you
very much. Are there any questions? On the board?
Why, I mean, I guess it's throughout the different ranges. Why do you think there is that drop? I know we've seen it even in different subjects, even in the math. I know we've seen it before where as they get into the older groups, the proficiency levels do seem to drop. Is it that it's getting harder? Is it, I don't know, what are some of the factors that are attributed to that?
What I think is the situation here with this particular assessment is, remember that the older students didn't have the benefit of the implementation of these next generation science standards throughout their entire education. The kind of instruction that we're now looking at is more hands-on instruction, applying science to real life scenarios and situations, and that was how this test was designed. So our older kids didn't benefit from this type of instruction throughout their entire education. So we're hoping moving forward that our older kids will score at a higher level, achieve higher on these kinds of assessments. That could be one of the arguments.
Can I ask something
Sure.
as well? So obviously when we made our board goals last year, addressing some of the disparities in test scores by race and economics was at the forefront. And I'm wondering, in light of current circumstances, if there's any update from the equity task force, or if all of that, if that particular piece of the work has been on hold in light of the pandemic?
Well, we are continuing to it's interesting that you should say that, because we are having conversations about equity and ways in which we can level the playing field in terms of what we provide to our students. And we actually shared some of our test scores with all of our teachers. You were present at at least one of our equity assemblies, and we will continue to do so that we can build this awareness among our staff in how we do have disproportionality throughout the district among different demographic groups. We're also looking at our curriculum very carefully to see if there are blind spots and see if there are things that we can do to kind of level that playing field for all of our kids. I don't know if Mark Parr would like to add anything to that, our supervisor of science and math.
In regards to some of that, we are also going to be able to look at some of these science test scores and possibly be able to track some of our students, whether it's between grade level meetings as well as through PLCs with our teachers. Part of the reason too for the grade 11 test scores is this is a cumulative test. And so actually, I was actually one of the teachers that was selected last summer. I was one of the high school science chemistry teachers selected to kind of look at and evaluate the cut scores for this exam. So part of the reason why some of the exams scores are lower, just like Dr. Amato mentioned, another reason could also be because it's a cumulative exam and some of the sections have not been taught by the time the students took the actual exam. So for example, if we have any students that possibly took physics in their senior year, some of them is also about space and certain subjects like that that are taken during senior year, students have not actually learned it when they take the exam. And that's one of the reasons why, if you'll notice throughout the state, some of those scores are lower for grade 11. And that's an issue that they're actually going to be looking at this summer, and they're going to be inviting more teachers to kind of evaluate that piece as well.
Thank you.
So, not so much a question, but when we get the presentations on the test scores, you know, these seem to be lower than I would anticipate for a district of our caliber. And so, and I mean, when we look at the state number, I'm assuming that that's an average of the state, and it includes all of like what used to be called the Abbotts, like Newark and Camden and Patterson. Is it possible, so we have this data, that maybe in a month or 6 weeks or whatever it takes, that the board gets a presentation of, you know, a deeper analysis and an action plan from the administration as to how we're going to address, I think all the, you know, I mean, I think we see some areas on the slide with the special education, the other demographic groups, but just overall, so that we know, like, we're actually taking this data and doing something in response to it, concrete. I mean, that would be helpful. You know, I think it informs goals and things like that.
We do, all of our administrators do create goals annually, as well as our teachers, as well as looking at their SGOs. So there are a lot of different ways in which we measure how well our teachers are supporting the curriculum and supporting all of our learners. But this is an ongoing process, and you know, as was mentioned earlier, this is a new curriculum, a new way of learning, a new way of teaching. So it's a combination of many different things. It's providing professional development, it's analyzing our curriculum, it's goal setting, it's ensuring that we meet those goals. It's, you know, working with the teams, working with various groups in the school community. So again, the test data provides us useful information, and we don't just put it on a shelf and say, okay, let's wait until next year. We do take action in many different ways, and we do plan to look at all those different areas that I mentioned.
And I wasn't suggesting that we put it on the shelf. I think it would just be helpful from the board's perspective to know what the next level of action is when we get something like this. And so you referred to professional development. And so maybe the type of professional development that we're giving our science teachers, and just something more than just saying professional development, just a short presentation, you know, 10 minutes at a board meeting, like when we have other presentations that addresses these scores.
Okay.
That's all I'm suggesting. And I'm not putting blame anywhere. It's a new test, I understand. Yeah. It's just helpful to know that we're really diving into it, and we've got really concrete action steps and timelines to move ahead to address it.
Okay, thank you.
Sharon, Dr. Amato.
Thank you.
There is a question from board member Elisa Cho. She's having some signal trouble. Her question is this: is it possible to get a more detailed breakdown of the data? In other words, in the subgroups, what are the percentages of economically disadvantaged, et cetera?
You mean of the entire population of students? Is that?
She says in the subgroups, what are the percentages of economically?
So it was broken down. If can you hear me?
Yes.
I can't hear.
No.
I'm typing to Ms. Cho to ask what her specific breakdown. So broken down by, to Asian, Hispanic, et cetera, can we get the data further broken down?
We can on the school report card, which is available. It's on our website. You could get, that data is broken down by school. You could get the percentages of students that fall into those different categories.
Thank you. Are there other questions? Thank you, Dr. Amato, Ms. Karuba, Mark Batar, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Amato and Ms. Karuba and Mr. Batar. As Ms. Taylor said, if we move along here, I know that we need to have a brief discussion also about our refunding bond ordinance that's up on the agenda tonight. So I'll turn that over to Ms. Taylor.
Thank you. Tonight we present for second reading and adoption a refunding bond ordinance of the district's 2012 bonds. If you guys don't mind, please mute your microphone. School districts can refund their bonds just like homeowners can refund their mortgages. And tonight's agenda item 3B poises the district to do just that. In 2012, the district issued $18.45 million in tax-exempt school bonds. The board seeks to refund a little over $10 million of those. Adopting tonight's bond ordinance enables the board to potentially realize going forward debt service savings for Fort Lee property taxpayers. Property taxpayers this fiscal year pay $3,697,351 in debt service. The municipal bond market is volatile right now. The stock market is volatile. We all see this with the unfortunate events of COVID-19. So yeah, the municipal bond market is volatile. However, the sale of the refunding bonds is contingent upon a favorable interest rate environment. With that, I introduce Board Municipal Financial Advisor Robbie Akampora of Phoenix Advisors and Board Bond Counsel Lisa Gorab of Willents, Goldman and Spitzer to summarize the bond refunding process. After hearing from them, the board president will open the floor formally to the public for any comments on the proposed refunding bond ordinance adoption. Robbie?
Good evening, everybody. I'm Robbie A. Campora of Phoenix Advisors. I'm the district's financial advisor. Back in early March, March the 5th, we had some projections to refund these bonds using taxable bonds. The bonds are generally issued as tax exempt, but the market was so favorable at that time, it was beneficial to project to refund these bonds using taxable rates, which are generally higher than tax exempt rates. At that time, the savings was projected to be 7.7% present value savings. And I say present value because our benchmark is 3% present value. It takes a couple of board meetings, usually at least 6 weeks to get things ready to go to sell bonds. But in that time, since March the 5th, as we all know, the market's fallen apart. The taxable bonds market has gone away. Today, the savings is only 1.53%. However, the process that you're going through does not expire. So I advised to continue to go through this process. And after tonight, you will have, if you adopt the ordinance, the approval to do that. The bonds were issued as tax exempt, as I mentioned. The tax law changes in 2018 disallowed us to be able to refund those bonds before their call date, which is in 2 more years. However, the federal legislation that we see going on every day may allow us to refund these on a tax exempt basis going forward. If the federal law changes and allows us to do that, you're going to be in a position to do that. If we could do that today, achieve a savings of 4.85%, not quite as high as they were on March the 5th. I suspect, we don't know what's going to happen at the federal government, but they say they're going to start to look at some relief for municipalities in the future. So if they do and they allow these tax exempt bonds to be refunded on a tax exempt basis, we'll report back and let you know what range we are, and we'd be in a position to do the refunding. Once the legal proceedings are approved tonight, we still need about a month to get a bond rating, do all the official documents that we need, and actually sell bonds. So it's not like it would happen tomorrow. But if it turns out that tax exempt rates become favorable, we will definitely advise you and then move in that direction if you desire to do that. I guess I'd let Lisa talk about the logistics of what needs to happen.
So as Robbie said, hi, it's Lisa from Willents. You've started the process through the first reading of the bond ordinance. This is the second process. It's the final adoption of the bond ordinance, which is odd for school districts to do, but that's the process in the law. And as part of that process is the adoption of a resolution that authorizes the sale of bonds. As Robbie said, this authorization proceeding, if you put it in place, will allow you to access the market in at least one of two circumstances. One, the interest rates come down and you're able to finance these closer to the call date, or if the federal law is changed and allows you to refinance the bonds now at tax exempt rates, to take advantage of that revision in the law as well. All of the savings that the board would be receiving on this bond issue are net of any cost of issuance. This refinancing is similar to a mortgage refinancing. You are not going to be extending the time period of the bonds. They're still going to be paid off in the time period that you originally told the bondholders and the taxpayers in 2012 that you would pay this debt off. So it is just an opportunity for the board to take bonds that are outstanding at a rate which is higher than the current rate and refinance them at a lower current rate.
Thank you. Follow me on TikTok, please. Thank you, Lisa. Having said that, Board President, would you like to open the floor or ask for a motion?
All right. Thank you, Hakisha, Lisa, and Robbie for the details about the proposed bond refunding ordinance adoption. Can I have a motion to open the floor to the public for comments on the bond refunding ordinance adoption only? For those in the public, we will have a separate time later for other questions and comments. So can I have a motion?
Motion, Ramba.
Motion. Second.
Okay, motion Ramba, seconded by DeMaglio. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? All right, seeing none is, I guess, if anyone in the public has any questions or comments about the bond refunding ordinance adoption, please let us know. You can ask your questions now. All right. I don't think we see anybody. I don't think anyone is trying to reach us or saying anything. I just want to make sure. All right. All right. Seeing none. May I have a motion to close the floor to the public?
Motion, Morales.
Okay, motion Morel, seconded by Colbath. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? All right, seeing none. All right. Thank you, everyone, for all your presentations and for all the information you provided tonight. Do we have any committee reports? If we have any committee reports tonight. All right. Do board members have questions or comments on tonight's agenda or any other topic?
Well, anyone want to jump in? Because I'm going to say something on 1P.
Me too.
You can start if you want.
I'm happy to have someone else start, but I just don't want it to go by without being acknowledged. So I'll start. I really would love you all to join me in an absolute vote for no with 1P, but I know Sharon somehow would figure out a way. But Sharon, 36 years is phenomenal, and the contributions that you made through those many, many years are too many to list. But in the more recent years, when I was involved, there were many periods of time where we were between superintendents, and our success as a district, there's one constant in that central office, and that has been you, the glue that's really held us together during all of the turmoil and turnover. And I just really want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything that you did to make Fort Lee strong.
Well said.
Bravo. Thank you, Sharon.
I think as much as we want to keep you here, I think it's more than well deserved, Sharon, you know, after 36 years. And, you know, Sharon, you know, 36 years, and it wasn't all in the same role. It wasn't in the same position. You know, Sharon is the epitome of someone who truly worked her way up, you know, in the ranks of the district. You know, she started out as a teacher and really worked her way up. And, you know, she didn't come in the door as Dr. Amato. She worked hard, and she's always been so knowledgeable, and she's always been patient with, you know, from day one when I came in as a board member with no knowledge or any background in this, and she's always been patient and explains everything. And you know, there's no one who knows our curriculum inside and out the way that Sharon does. So really, you are going to be so missed. And like Paula said, you've always been the constant, and, you know, I've always been your biggest cheerleader. So it's bittersweet. You know, it's certainly well deserved. You've certainly earned your way to enjoying your retirement, you know, and I'm happy for you. I really am. So, but yeah, so best of luck.
I have to say it's very, very sweet to say goodbye, Sharon, because Sharon has been steadfast in our district. There's no one that knows curriculum better than she does. There's no one that knows the district in general better than she does. She has been the right hand to, I can't even count how many superintendents. I don't think I want to count how many superintendents. Suffice it to say, she has gone above and beyond for this school district and for the children of Fort Lee. Not to mention mentoring all the board members that came along. And it's with a heavy heart that I have to say goodbye, because she's just so knowledgeable, so knowledgeable. I mean, there's not a question that she can't answer. And I really feel there's going to be a big loss in central office, a huge loss in central office. And I know it's well deserved, but I'm selfish and I really don't want you to go, Sharon.
Sharon, I think Paula and Esther hit the nail on the head. So I just want to thank you for all you did, and you know that you'll be sorely missed.
Yeah, I will add, Sharon, also that not an easy recommendation for me to make to accept that resolution. Prior to my arrival, Sharon was the first one to reach out to me and has been literally my right hand since I arrived in the district, and has shown a great deal of patience with me as well. And I definitely appreciate that. She has been a consummate professional and partner to work with for 5 years, and you will be sorely missed.
I said I wouldn't say anything because I might cry, so I'll try not to cry like a baby. Dr. Mata, she's a consummate professional. She has been helpful. She has been a person that shares feedback, good or bad, in a way that it's effective and received. She's been, as Ken mentioned, sort of this trio is a working machine, and she has been the glue to making that happen. So as everyone else has said, I wish her all the best. Obviously, well deserved. She hates when I tell people she's been in the district 100 years. She's the person that's been in the district 100 years, but she's retiring at 27. So I love her to death. I wish her all the best. Wish you all the best, Sharon. And congratulations. Have a happy transitioning retirement.
I have nothing else for my report, Ms. Silver, if you want to move on to more questions.
You're muted, Esther. You're
Thank you.
muted.
Okay, thank you. Do board members have questions or comments on on the agenda or any other topic? All right.
Actually, I did, sorry, if you can hear me.
Yes.
All right. When it comes to Pontonian and what we're voting on, I just wanted to make sure, are we projected to still have a surplus this year? I know that we're supposed to have a profit of at least 75,000, but I know typically we've had well beyond that, except for perhaps the year that we didn't raise the lunch prices. Sorry, Hickey, I didn't get to ask you this prior to the meeting today, but if there's a way for us to know the impact, I guess, because, you know, it's backdated to the March 16th, I guess that doesn't affect the surplus, though. Is that correct, from what I understand?
So we don't have a projected surplus. We have a projected deficit this year. We have a projected deficit of around, Mark from Pontonian, the president at Pontonian, and I have projected around $55,000 for which the general fund would have to subsidize the food service for the first time, probably in the existence of the food service here at Fort Lee Public Schools. So that's the first point, is that we're projecting a deficit. Why are we projecting a deficit? There are two drivers of that deficit. One primarily being the increase in minimum wage. Minimum wage increased July of 2019 and then again in January of 2020, and now is projected to increase each 10 years. So the primary driving factor is the increase in minimum wage. And when you increase the minimum wage, you essentially don't have to increase just one wage, because if you increase, for example, the pot washer from $10 to $11, he now makes the same amount as whatever the next level of food service manager. So that person who now makes $11, well, you have to bump them up as well. So there's a ripple effect due to the increase in minimum wage, which I personally support the increase in minimum wage, but it does have an effect on the cost of operations. And then secondly, we've increased the number of lunch monitors. So the lunch monitor program helps us to manage our our lunch time, to ensure that hopefully HIB is reduced and that the amount of time that students are unmonitored is lessened. So this year Ken asked for an increase, and I think board members were on board and asked for this as well, an increase in the number of lunch monitors for students at all of the schools. So the increase in the actual number of lunch monitors, the increase in minimum wage, and of course the addition of the intermediate school added additional lunch monitors. So again, a surplus is not projected. A deficit is projected for the first time in the history of Fort Lee. And those are the reasons for, I'm not sure what item you're talking about, but that's the reason for the increase in prices, which we approved last year. What's on the agenda for today is a modification to their contract, because their current contract, and Paula asked this question as well, their current contract is based on the number of meals served. And that has drastically gone down, as the resolution states, from around a projected 2,500 meals a day to 20. So the legislation that was recently passed last Wednesday, 904, requires districts to continue contracts. We have sent an email to board council to get guidance on sort of what that really means, and all business administrators are trying to figure this out. But one of the things that that legislation does is it requires us to pay contracts. Whether it requires us to pay contracts in existence at school closure of food service is a question that some board attorneys are trying to figure out as well, because it's an enterprise account, so it's really not associated with the general fund of the school. At any rate, the two items that are on today are, one, the modification of their contract so that they can stay in business. So in other words, going from 2,500 meals served per day to 20 per day, they will not be able to pay the person that's distributing the meals. And so the first item on the agenda is to modify their contract so that it's not on a per meal basis. And then the second thing that's on the agenda for Pomptonian is next year's renewal. And the difference, or the only per meal, which is based on the CPI index rate finance notice, which is 2%. I believe I answered your questions, Ms. Cho.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
All right. Does anyone else have any questions or comments on the agenda before I start with the agenda items? All right. Okay. All right. So let me move on with the agenda. May I have a motion to open the floor to the public?
Motion.
Ramba.
Okay, I heard
I'll
motion.
second.
Okay, motion Ramba, seconded by Cho. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Anyone any opposed or abstentions? All right. Seeing none, the board secretary, Hakisha Taylor, will share how the public comment session will be conducted, since we're on Zoom. It's a little different than our normal public meeting.
Thank you, President Hans Silver. We will use the raise hand feature of Zoom to identify the order in which public comments will be shared. If you have a public comment to share, please select participants from the bottom center of your Zoom screen. From there, select the raise hand button from the bottom right-hand corner of your Zoom screen. I will recognize each community member in the order of the raised hands by lowering the hand and unmuting the microphone. Please then state your name. And in our last board meeting, we did not have community members stating their names. So if you could please remember to state your name and your address for the record. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. With that being said, does anyone from the public have questions or comments on tonight's agenda or any other topic?
How do we raise the hand, Hakisha?
So you click, there's a participants icon in the middle of your screen.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're speaking already, Howard. Just go ahead. You're first.
Okay. I unmuted myself. I'm sorry.
No worries.
Yeah, I looked in the agenda. There was one item that concerned me. There is a listing of what looks like the job description for a classroom aide. I've never seen this before. I think it's there because you're considering hiring somebody new. I don't quite understand why it's there. I think that's the reason. But my concern is that under reports to, it says it reports to the principal and classroom teacher. That's the aide is supposed to report to both the principal and classroom teacher. And in performance responsibility, it says, talks about supervision of the classroom teacher. The reason I'm concerned with this is generally teachers, and I've been a teacher in the district 23 years, we're not in the job of supervising other people. I believe that the rules are that in order to supervise in a school district, a person needs a supervisory certificate. I'd never seen this before. I don't know if this is a change or been around for years, and I'd never seen it before, but it's a concern that teachers are asked to supervise without having the credentials. I believe that there needs to be credentials. So I'd appreciate it.
What are you actually looking at?
There is, I think I'm going back to the screen. 1 second, Ken.
Howard is referring to something in the attachment that I just looked at.
Yes.
And it should not be there. I just, I'm chatting with Jamie, who's our director of HR, who's also on the line. But there's a job description that is not being acted on or anything tonight. So it is a mistake, Howard. But definitely, you know, if you have questions about the job description, please hold them and then forward them to Jamie. But there's no action being taken on that. That is a mistake. I'm not sure why it's in the backup.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Okay.
That's my only concern.
Thank you, Howard.
Thank you, Howard.
So I will now take a look to see if there are other raised hands. I do not see any. Do you guys see them? Oh, wait, I'm not on the chat. Let me see. Participants. Okay, Uriel, I'm going to unmute you and lower your hand. Uriel?
Yes, hi. Yeah, I would like to know what we're planning to do about the school year. It's been 3 weeks that the kids didn't get any study, barely nothing, and it doesn't look like we're going to go back to school anytime soon. I want to know what's the Board of Education going to do about remote schooling.
Well, I'm not sure specifically what your question is referring to. Right now, the plan is in place and has been going forward for 4 weeks so far. Last week being the spring break, but 3 weeks of instruction. The board and what I would advise the board is we continue to do the same things we've been doing, advance on that. The teachers are getting more skilled and trying different things and doing more interactive things. It's been a challenging growth process on a lot of levels, but the education process is going on just in a much different way than it's ever gone on before. You know, this was something that was never intended for children to do learning through distance metal. This is started out as something geared for adults, but we are making the best of it and providing educational information to the students on a variety of levels and a variety of formats.
No doubt that it's a challenging time for all of us, but the student doesn't get any online schooling. They get assignments and they have to figure out by their own how to study and what to do. And there is no guidance. There is no reply to emails on time. I contact you at the beginning of right when everything started, and the last 3 weeks beside the school break, we didn't get any. My daughter had 1 online class in 3 weeks. And I don't know how the kid's supposed to learn like that.
I can't specifically speak to that, Uriel, because I'm not sure who your daughter is and what school she's in. If you'd like to contact me through email or leave me a voicemail, I'm happy to get back in touch with you. It might be easier that way to give me more specifics.
I raised the question about my daughter, but I spoke with other parents. It's not only my daughter. I'm sure that there are other parents over here on the call that can share their information.
Can you share your full name for me for the record?
Uriel Sapir.
Can you spell your last name for me?
S-A-P-I-R.
Thank you.
Mr. Sapir, I suggest that you contact me, as I said, and we'll have an individual discussion about your daughter's situation.
Sure, I'm going to shoot you an email right now.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay. I'm multitasking, I'm chatting, I'm all over the place. Here we go, participants. Stephen, I am going to lower your hand, and I believe you're unmuted. Stephen, if you can please state for the record your full name.
This is Stephen Dominguez, teacher at the high school.
Hi, Stephen.
Hi. I just wanted to, I came on here to see if it was real, Dr. Amato, that you were really retiring. We've been spending a lot of time this year. You've been a great mentor, and I just wanted to thank you. Deeply, deeply thank you for everything. Thank you for hiring me almost 10 years ago. And you were my supervisor then, and now you're the assistant superintendent, but you've definitely been an amazing teacher, an amazing leader. And I really, really, really want to thank you for all of what you've done for me this year and throughout all of the years. Thank you so much.
Oh.
Thank you, Stephen.
You're very welcome, Stephen.
Next up, we have Julene. I'm going to unmute and lower your hand. Please state for the record your full name.
Hi, it's Julene Stasu. How are you? I want to also congratulate you, Sharon. I'm really sad to hear this news. I'm shocked, but excited for you. I want to thank you for everything you did for me and my daughter, Ella. Several years ago, you helped us out, and I'm just really appreciative to you. And I'm really, really sad. It's a big loss to Fort Lee, and we're really going to miss you. But, you know, you did earn it, and enjoy your time. And I'm going to miss you. Thanks for everything.
Okay, thank you, Julene. I'm going to unmute Lisa and lower your hand. And I believe Lisa, please state your full name for the record.
Hi, hello everyone. My name is Lisa Lee. I just have a question. So my son is going to be in kindergarten in September. So we actually had an appointment today to register him, but it was postponed because the virus. So I'm just wanted to know, how should I register him right now? Is there any way I can do it online or by email?
Yes, we are setting, Ms. Lee, we are setting up a process. Hoping to have it up and running by the end of this week, if not next week at the latest, where you'll be able to do the registration through an online process.
So are you going to, I'm sorry, are you going to send us a notification by emails or by phone call or anything?
Yes, we'll be reaching out to everybody who signed up, and we'll be emailing and reaching out to all those people and calling them as well.
Okay, one more question, please. I know we need to submit the his physical exam form from the doctor, right? But I haven't got it right now. Can I just submit the form later? I'm not sure. I don't think I should go to visit doctor if it's really necessary for right now.
Well, when you go through the registration process, there's a number of documents you'll be required to upload.
Yeah.
To deliver. So when you have those complete, then your registration will be complete. If we have your name, though, we will count you in the mix, and we'll wait for the final paperwork.
Okay, thank you.
A number of people will be in the same situation that you're in right now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Lisa Lee. I will now unmute Amy Oteng, I believe. Please state for the record your full name.
Hi, this is Amy Koteng. I am with School 3. Hi, everyone. I want to thank you for just making everything happen in our world today, and meeting with parents, communicating with parents, and I'm so happy to see everyone doing well and healthy. I wanted to congratulate Dr. Amato and share a little personal story. Dr. Amato had my sister 29 years ago, I think. And I never took ESL, but my sister was in her class, and she was scared. She didn't speak English well enough to converse with confidence. And Dr. Amato always make her feel okay. There was a gentleman named Mr. Woblowski. I don't know if Dr. Amato remember him. He would terrify my sister. And she was so happy and relieved under the guidance of Dr. Amato. So I just want to share that personal story. And Dr. Amato, we will miss you. My kids are in the district and will continue to carry on and wear your honor with our district. So thank you so much. And then secondly, I expressed to Mr. Rhoda today that I am excited to learn that School 3 will be welcoming some special ed student in kindergarten in first grade next year. And I just want to share with the board as well that as a parent group, on behalf of the PTA, we would love to support these families, and we ourselves need to learn how to support families that needs extra support. To that extent, we are asking the district to help us, to point us to resources where we can teach our families, our children, to be loving and as compassionate as we welcome this new group of students to our school. We're very excited and thank you again. So there's no question, but I just want to reflect on this point that that is on the agenda today.
Thank you, Amy.
I believe there are no other raised hands, Ms. Hans Silver.
All right.
Oh, there's a physical raised hand. Kyle, feel free to unmute yourself and state your name, your full name for the record. Kyle, we're unable to hear you clearly. If you like, you can chat your question. I can repeat it for you, but we're unable to hear you clearly. I do not see a chat from Kyle as yet. Ms. Hans.
Kyle, you can always reach out to me with questions through email or voicemail if you have something especially related to the agenda or anything else. Just shoot me an email and I'll get back to you.
And he's at kroda@flboe.com. Thank you. I see one raised hand from Scott Greenberg. I'm going to unmute and lower your hand. Scott, please state your full name for the record.
Hi, this is actually Audrey Greenberg, just on my husband's account. How are you? It's good to see everybody again, all looking so healthy. I hope everyone was able to enjoy a little peaceful time during spring break. As I spoke to you guys last time, we are so appreciative of all of the efforts. I couldn't be more amazed at the teachers and trying to do this kind of distance learning and work with the kids and be creative. It's all been remarkable. Does that mean that it's necessarily all working? No, it doesn't. And I think that Mr. Rhoda, you've said that yourself, that this was never a discipline that was really meant for children, and we're all learning about it, and we're all trying to work as best as we can. To the point of the gentleman that was speaking to you, you said, he should speak to you privately. The truth is, every parent is going to have a different situation, just like every child has a different situation. But this is one big pandemic impact on the education system in all districts. But specifically in our district is what we have control over. And we talked last time about the understanding of the education not being where it is and it being evolving and everyone trying. But once again, the grading system isn't changing at all. And I wanted to follow up and see if any discussions had happened around that and what the plans are for moving forward.
I've discussed the grading system with all the administrators. I brought some ideas to the board also. I'll be meeting once again tomorrow morning with the administrators to get their final recommendation. They were reaching out to some of the teachers to get their opinion. We are considering using a pass-fail option at the middle school for those students and at the intermediate school. And we also considered it at the high school. There's been a great deal of discussion about it and people doing some research on that. So it's also something that I could tell you that's being discussed across the county with mixed reviews and mixed responses. Some districts are doing it, some are not, for a whole variety of reasons. So we're just trying to figure out what would be the best for Fort Lee going forward, trying not to hurt anyone, which is always the main goal here, to support all of our students the best way we can and get them through this.
Yeah, I totally agree. I spoke with Dr. Daniello as well. I have a child in both intermediate and middle school. And we spoke about the idea of pass-fail, not wanting the children to not feel like they have to try. So I get that those have their challenges too. From a parent's perspective, the hardest part is all the different scenarios that everyone has. So some parents are home and they're able to hold their child's hand and get everything done. And some parents are both working out of the house. Some parents, one is in, one is out. And I'm personally struggling. My kids are straight A students. They've had some bit of a lapse with their grades in the last marking period. But I find that there are different, everybody's handling it differently. I think if there was a way to try to at least have something consistent across all the teachers, the feedback I'm getting from the teachers is that, which is nice, they're being given a lot of room to figure it out on their own, but they don't really have very strict guidelines. So one teacher is saying, no problem, if that gets handed in late or you didn't click the right button, no worries, just send me an email and let me know. And then there's another teacher that's sending out emails to the students about how they're disappointed in them and they need to read through all the instructions. And if you decide to do the work, you'll get half credit. So if you understand where I'm coming from, these are just challenges that I think we need to address as we go to end our whole school year this way.
I agree with you on that and wholeheartedly support what you're saying, the idea we need to have consistency. I've addressed the staff in that topic several times already, and also addressed the administrators. We obviously want to be consistent in how we're approaching things, but also the goal here is to be supportive of the students in a very difficult time. That's the best way I could say it, not to trivialize anything, but it is a very, very difficult time on so many different levels. And I also appreciate what you're saying about each family is really in a unique situation based on the parents' working situation. Are they home? Are they not home? All those things. Everybody has to try and make this work. I believe it was Ms. Richter who even shared at the last meeting that due to her responsibilities as a teacher, she's working with her class and then working with her children after that, so that she's the same thing, trying to get some, working out a system that works. It's a challenge, but I agree that we need to have a consistent approach to that. And I can assure you that it is already on my agenda for tomorrow morning to finalize my recommendations to the board.
I appreciate that. I appreciate all of you, your openness to hearing what we have to say and always trying to consider how you can help us. And I do want to just reiterate that the teachers are amazing and I know they're all trying and they're doing great things. They're just challenges that are part of this situation. And I know we're all working hard together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Audrey. I will now unmute and lower the hand of Ping Fang. Please state your full name for the record.
Hi, can you hear me? Hello? Yes, hi. My name is Ping Fang Kinney, Kinney. I'm from School 1. I just have we have been it has been a struggle for us at home because we both parents are working and have to help out with the two kids. I have little ones, kindergarten and the third grader. So every day is a different situation. Kindergarten is getting a little bit better because their grade decided to have a corroborate website, and everybody's giving out assignment in the similar format. And if we have any question, we can go to the same source to look at the resource that we need. But somehow our third grader seems like all the teachers in this grade are different. Everybody have their own way to handling homeworks or teaching. And I understand that certain teacher might be a little more challenged on the technology, and some teachers are more interested, or they can provide more different approach to their lessons. And again, just we were trying to say that we're trying to ask if we at least we can feel like every class or every student can have equal opportunity. So would that be a better idea if we can group, if the teacher can make a team as each grade, they can work together to support the student in the same way. So, for example, my kids have a question today at her social study. She doesn't have to come after and keep asking me, "Mommy, what's this, what's that?" I have to go to her textbook, I have to go find a website. Then that teacher is supposed to be available, that she can type in a question and teacher will be able to answer them. I don't know, but some teachers are providing that, but some teachers are not. And our teacher is request the kids turning all the assignment by 3 o'clock, some is by 4 o'clock, and if you don't turn in, she just delete it. And it's create a very stressful situation at home, and we try to write an email to the principal and the teacher, but we don't really get a response. I don't know what to do after that. We can't even go to school, say, "Can I make an appointment with the principal?" So this is I don't know how to solve this problem. It's very stressful for me. And then the second thing is, I'm just want to see if there's an opportunity for the children to kind of socializing together with the teachers monitoring. Like if they can have like every Friday afternoon between 1 to 2, that they can go online to just talk about their life, their pets, their hobby or something. They miss their class. They don't have any opportunity to they even miss their teacher, and they don't have opportunity to talk to them or socialize with them. I feel like if there's a time that we could actually schedule it into the curriculum right now for kids to actually just support each other in a way. Thank you.
I know that some schools and some grade levels have already had social type meetings with their classes and have done other activities, but most of those have been sponsored through the PTA. So that's one part of that. The second thing, I will tell you that you will be hearing from the principal tomorrow. She'll be calling you to follow up on your questions.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Do I have to call her and give her my number? I don't have a number.
Your information. She'll be in touch.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Okay. Ms. Taylor, you're muted.
Hi, I am unmuting and lowering the hand of Kyle. Kyle,
Hi,
do you have a better reception now?
I did it, yeah. My name's Kyle Sanford. My daughter goes to school 4. I just wanted to know if, I miss Joe. I just wanted to know what was the resolve, or what was the last meeting? You guys were talking about Zoom and with the kids. Is there anything going on with that now for all the schools or any classrooms? also, try to get all my questions in at once. Uh, also, with going back to school now, like if they're gonna go back to school, I've heard.
Ms. Rhoda said he will have principal call me tomorrow to resolve my issue.
Ping, can you mute your phone, please? I mean, your
Oh,
mic.
okay. Sorry, I didn't know that I was on mute. Okay.
No worries.
No problem. With them going back to school, the other issue that we're gonna have is, you know, with the social distancing and everything, and if you're gonna wear masks like the governor says, how do they do that in like lunchroom, in lunch classroom? That's gonna be another issue coming up. You know, how do you eat without having a mask on? It's gonna be, you know, I don't think they're gonna go back to school, truthfully, but.
Well, that's a very good
you know,
question, Mr. Sanford. We'll have to address if that comes up. But you know, if the governor allows us to return to school, I would assume that some of the social distancing rules would have to be relaxed. And just for an imperfect example of what you're saying, the kids eating lunch now, you know, you'd have to have them a certain distance apart. You can't eat with a mask on, obviously, things like that. So I'm you know, would rely on the governor to use his judgment, working with the health officials to make that decision if we were able to, let's say, go back hypothetically June 1st, that we'd be able to go back with a little flexibility, because otherwise, yeah, it would be a little crazy.
Yeah, well, he'll leave it up to you guys to figure it out. I figured, no, that's not gonna happen.
As
You know
far
how
as
that works.
as far as the Zoom question goes, the teachers are permitted to use whatever format they choose. We have not barred the teachers from using Zoom or Google Chats or any of the other WebEx, any other formats. We've encouraged the teachers to use what they're most comfortable with when they're reaching out to the kids, because there are so many formats out there.
It would mean the world to my daughter just to see her teacher. I mean, you know, a lot of people, even if it's just in a video, I don't care if they do a 20-minute school lesson. I don't care. Just as, you know, she misses her class, she misses her friends, you know, but just to see the teacher one-on-one, it's something, just like I'm talking to you, even if it's in a video or something for the, just help us with the courses. I'm trying to help you guys out and help the, you know, the lady before us that was having difficulty in her class with the kids. Because I'm going to have to go back to work soon too, so that's going to be a problem for me too. So, you know, even if it's, you got 4 teachers at school 4. If one of them do a video on, one does on math, one does on science, one does on this, doesn't even have to be live, you know. It's a good, pretty good, you know, at least it's like they're getting one-on-one instruction, you know.
Understood. I'll be spreading, like I said, we'll be discussing it again tomorrow and pushing, you know, trying to push the teachers in that direction. I try and push gently because it's
I know.
still learning, but I appreciate what you're saying. The FaceTime is the best way to put it. Not FaceTime, the app, but FaceTime with teachers is important for all the kids, particularly at the younger levels.
Thank you. I like I said, I appreciate everything you guys do, and thank you. Thank you for this.
Thanks.
Thank you, Kyle. And the last question we have is from Mimi Jean Lewis. She chatted a question for the graduating classes. And the question is, are we considering all options for graduation, online ceremony?
We are considering multiple options right now. As I mentioned in my video I sent out earlier today, we're considering options for all the end of the year activities, graduation to me being the most important. I am sitting on a committee with several other county superintendents, and we are working on all kinds of suggestions, whether it be virtual, drive-by graduations, whatever we can do to have some type of meaningful ceremony for those 12th graders. That's going to be the goal. But really, it's going to depend upon what the regulations are as far as social distancing. If we are allowed to have any kind of large group meeting at that time by the end of June. So we're open to any suggestion, any possibilities. We're looking at everything right now.
Thank you, Mr. Rhoda. A question from Bonnie Weisner. And I'd add into the graduation question, awards, academic and sports, how creative can we be?
I saw the question, and I think it's the same thing. We are looking for options for all of our end of the year activities. As a matter of fact, I have a meeting with the high school administrative team tomorrow afternoon to discuss end of the year activities and possibilities, because we've been working on it for about 2 weeks and coming up with a variety of options. And we'll wait to, like everyone else, to see what the governor says on May 15th, to see if we're back or if we have to go into some of these alternatives.
Thank you, Superintendent Rhoda. There are no further questions. Ms. Silver.
Okay, great. Thank you for everyone, for your participation. We really do listen to your feedback, and we appreciate your feedback. To all the parents who are telling us about your experiences, it really does help us, and it helps the administrators to shape, as we're going forward, because it really is a learning curve, and they're still learning, they're still adjusting things. So we do appreciate it, and sharing your own experiences, and, it helps us to realize that, obviously one size doesn't fit all. And like Audrey Greenberg pointed out to us, everyone's experience is different. I read something the other day, and it was really poignant, and it said, we're not all in the same boat. We're all in the same storm, but we're all riding different boats, so everyone is going through a different experience, and is experiencing it in a different way. We're all, going through this, but it's definitely, in different ways. So thank you for, giving us your input. We do appreciate it. So with that, let me just scroll back up on the agenda. May I have a motion to close the floor to the public?
Motion.
Motion.
All right, I know that was motion Rubino, and I believe second, was that Richter? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No, sorry, I think there's one more question.
Oh, okay. Oh.
No, or maybe not.
There was.
All right.
It was a chat. It's something in the chat.
Oh, okay.
My name is Louise Mamat. I have a kid in, for procedurally, Esther, you ask for a motion to open the floor again to the public.
Okay.
Motion.
One second. Thank you, Alicia.
Sure.
Is there a second?
Sure.
I'll second.
Okay.
Second.
Ms. Richter. Yes, Ms. Louise Mamat, are you unmuted? Would you like to speak?
Yes, actually, I have two kids in the school, one in intermediate and another one in middle school. Actually, my experience is being fantastic. My kids are coping fantastic, and I did have so much support from my kids at school. It's unbelievable. Just today, I received a long email from one of the teachers of the middle school where she was sending some documentaries. How can we cope with all of this that is happening? And it's being unbelievable. It's being amazing. Actually, my kids are loving it, and they actually had the time to chat with peers from school and all of that. So my experience is being fantastic. I just wanted to thank everybody, and especially the teachers and all the administrators, because they are doing fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. I know she's breaking up a bit, but Ken, did you hear her? She basically was saying that.
I did. I heard her. I was able to get it.
So her experience, for those, I just got a couple of chats that said she was breaking up, but they get the gist that her experience has been really, really fantastic. If there are no other questions or chat, is there a motion to close the floor to the public?
Motion.
Okay.
Holly Morell and
Second by Richter. I saw her. Yep. Second. All right. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Moving on to resolutions. May I have a motion to approve items 1B through 4B?
Motion, Ramba.
Second.
Motion.
Okay, motion Ramba, seconded by Richter.
Thank you. Ms. Cho,
Yes.
Ms. Colbath,
Yes.
Mr. DeMeglio,
Yes.
Ms. Morel,
Yes.
Ms. Richter,
Yes.
Ms. Ramba,
Yes.
Mr. Rubino,
Yes.
Ms. Tuck, Ms. Tuck, Ms. Han Silver,
Yes.
Yes.
motion passes.
Okay, may I have a motion to approve items 1 CUR and 2 CUR?
Motion.
Motion.
Okay, motion Morale, second by Tuck.
Ms. Cho,
Yes.
Ms. Colbath,
Yes.
Mr. DeMeglio,
Yes.
Ms. Morel,
Yes.
Ms. Richter,
Yes.
Ms. Ramba,
Yes.
Mr. Rubino,
Yes.
Ms. Tuck,
Yes.
Ms. Han Silver,
Yes.
motion passes.
Yes.
Okay. May I have a motion to approve items 1F through 7F?
Motion Ramba.
Second Cho.
Second Morel.
Okay.
I have Ramba and Cho. Ms. Cho,
Yes.
Ms. Colbath,
Yes.
Mr. DeMeglio,
Yes.
Ms. Morel,
Yes.
Richter,
Yes.
Ms. Ramba,
Yes.
Mr. Rubino,
Yes.
Ms. Tuck,
Yes.
Ms. Han Silver,
Yes.
motion passes.
Okay, may I have a motion to approve items 1P through 5P?
Motion Morel.
Second Ramba.
Ms. Cho,
Yes, but can we really say no to 1P or no? It's not allowed.
We can. I don't think Sharon will be happy with that.
Yes.
okay, Ms. Colbath,
Yes, but note my reluctance to 1P.
Yes.
I'm really being forced here by the group.
so noted. Mr. DeMeglio,
Yes. Luck, Sharon.
Ms. Morel,
So I'll be the odd man out, and I'm voting no on 1P and yes to everything else.
so noted. Ms. Richter,
Yes.
Ms. Ramba,
Yes.
Mr. Rubino,
Yes.
Ms. Tuck,
Yes, with reluctance.
so noted. Ms. Han Silver,
Yes, with a big hug, if I could.
motion passes.
All right, may I have a motion to approve item 1 POL?
Motion Colbath.
Second Morel.
Okay, I think I have Colbath and Morel. Ms. Cho,
Yes.
Ms. Colbath,
Yes.
Mr. DeMeglio,
Yes.
Ms. Morel,
Yes.
Ms. Richter,
Yes.
Ms. Ramba,
Yes.
Mr. Rubino,
Yes.
Ms. Tuck,
Yes.
Ms. Han Silver,
Yes.
motion passes.
All right, moving on. Is there any old business?
Did we, sorry, it's Elisa. Did we have any feedback as to whether or not we were able to have that other lunch site? And did anybody come and pick up lunches there, Ken?
The
So,
lunch
yes.
site is up and running all week. The turnout's been low. I know Keisha has the specific numbers, but yes, we were able to operate it. Keisha, you want to add to that?
Nope. The turnout has been low. So I think that the demand, in other words, I think that we're doing as a district all that we can to get the participation. One of the things that Eric Corman from Pomptonian mentioned is that although we have folks picking up at the middle school, some of them are actually folks that pick up at the high school. So they're really not new families. So the numbers are really low. In other words, it's not necessarily. So we sent out another message today to the parents just to remind them that we did open the site, perhaps because last week was spring break. That had something to do with it, but again, the numbers are low, and some of the folks that are picking up the middle school now are folks that used to pick up at the high school. So we're not seeing the demand that we had hoped.
Are we seeing though, like, are we contacting them via email, or how are we reaching out to these families to come? And
We're emailing them through the list that we have of those eligible families. And through the same system they already replied, when we emailed them about the second location, we had a number of positive responses, over 50. So we thought we'd have a good turnout, and unfortunately that hasn't been the case. So we're going back to the same system that they already replied to once and reminding them that it's available, and we'll see if that increases the turnout.
are we seeing the open rate of those messages by any chance, or is that something that we haven't been taking a look at?
I honestly don't know. I'd have to talk to Mr. Giro about that. But I know that in the first round, like I said, we had well over 50 positive responses that they would be interested.
And 176 total responses. So that was over 50 affirmative, and then 176 minus 50, or actually no, there was about 53 affirmative and maybe 70 no's. They wouldn't be inclined to go to the middle school. So we had over 120 respondents on that survey, with the 53 being affirmative. And we're still seeing 8, 10, 7 folks show up at the middle school, 5 of which of those pickups used to pick up at the high school. So we're seeing around 2, 3 new.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Is there any new business for tonight?
Esther.
Yeah.
I want to give a huge shout out to every teacher in our district. I saw 2 videos. One was on Facebook, and I think the other one I either got by email or maybe I did see it on Facebook, where it started with the middle school teachers doing this whole video with different teachers. I think it started with Nina Anderson. If I tell you, Sammy and I watched it, he hadn't seen some of those teachers in years because he's in the high school now, and he was pointing them out, and the music was phenomenal, and it was wonderful. We went, wow, how wonderful is that to see these teachers? And then yesterday, well, I guess the high school didn't want to feel slighted, so they jumped on it. And they did one too. And it was phenomenal. And if I tell you how wonderful, I know as a parent, forget about even being a board member, just as a parent, them to go out of their way to make the kids feel so good and know that they're missed. I'm telling you, it was so heartwarming and so lighthearted and just so optimistic and positive. They're just such a great group of human beings. And you know, I'm biased, but I just think we have the best. So, and that's it for my new business.
The intermediate school video was even better. So when you see that one, you'll be surprised. We're going to post all the videos on the website.
Like the high school one.
We're going to post all those videos on the website for everyone to see.
Okay, great. That's great. They're setting the bar. All right, any other new business? All right. I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge that, you know, one of our board members, you know, recently suffered a loss, and, you know, he's still here with us tonight, being professional and doing his part to, you know, serve the community. So I just want to acknowledge that Ralph's father passed away recently. So Ralph, you know, we can't be with you and support you in person, but our deepest condolences really to you and your family. I can't even imagine how hard it must be right now because of everything going on, to suffer this kind of loss and not be able to do things, you know, the way you want to do it. So I just wanted to acknowledge it publicly, and thank you for coming tonight and being part of our meeting and still, being with us. So thank you.
We love you, Ralph.
Yes. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
So yeah, it's definitely impacting a lot of us in many ways in all of our lives. But we're all in this together, and we're all trying to do the best that we can. So thank you to everyone for everything that you're doing and in all your ways, the parents, the kids, the teachers, all of you. So thank you. With that, I think I would like to call for a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
All right, motion Ramba, second by Richter. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Oh, nice to see Jason's dog. Have a good night. Good night, everyone. Stay safe.
Have a good night.
All right.
Good night, everybody. Bye.
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 Bye-bye, everyone.
Stay well.
Have a good night.